Good afternoon, everyone. I hope you all are enjoying day 2 of Bangalore Literature Festival. The next session is a dance book autobiography on Dr. Maya Rao called Lifetime in Choreography. A performance by Natya STEM Dance Company in connection with the book, along with excerpts from the film Maya to Matter. Our panelists for today are Tara Kinney and Madhu Nataraj. Tara Kinney is an independent consultant in education and music and works with several reputed institutions in Bangalore, Andhra Pradesh, Delhi, and Ahmedabad. She has trained intensively in Hindustani classical music, composed music for theatre, and directed music shows. She is the founder director of a music collective called Sunad. Madhu Nataraj is the Natya STEM Dance Company's director and choreographer. She has trained in Kathak from her mother, Dr. Maya Rao, and from Srimati Chitra Venugopal. Although she trained in contemporary dance in New York, she came back to India to create a unique contemporary Indian dance vocabulary where tradition and modernity coexist. Madhu Nataraj was chosen as one of India's 50 Young Achievers by India Today. She has received many awards, recent amongst which are the Mohan Khokar Award for Excellence in Dance and the Bismillah Khan Yuva Puruskar from the Central Sangeet Natak Academy, Government of India. I would now like to call upon Madhu Nataraj to introduce the first dance piece.
Namaskar. We thought it fit to begin this session with dance because my mother's life really was about dance. Dance was her constant glue. So we begin this session with an obeisance to the Lord of Dance, Shiva. And this piece is from her choreography from 2006 called Tandav, which is inspired by the iconography, sculptures, and architecture of the South Indian temples, the Badami Shiva in particular, and was created as the opening piece to celebrate the 50th year of the unification of Karnataka. So this piece has music by Anur Ananta Krishna Sharma and Shankar Shanbhug. The choreography is by Dr. Maya Rao. And what is interesting is the movement stock for this piece is from the ancient treatise on dance, the Natya Shastra, which later inspired dance as we see it today in the classical and folk genres. So, ladies and gentlemen, we have for you Tandav by the Natya and STEM Dance Company. to you. As most of us know here, that Maya Didi, Dr. Maya Rao, Ma, passed away less than a month ago. And her life really is mirrored in her autobiography, Maya Rao, A Lifetime in Choreography. She is a dancer, choreographer, dance curator, revivalist, researcher, and writer. And all these trajectories that her life went into run parallelly with the evolution of Indian dance and Kathak in particular. And the book itself is a little different from the biographies you see on dancers, because apart from her life, it also talks about her research in various realms of ritualistic dance, contemporary dance, Kathak. Also, archival photographs, which number about 150. And the first time that the Sahitya Academy and the government of Karnataka has brought out a book, a coffee table book, on a dancer and a non-writer. But she was also a writer and very, very keen on her authorship. The book is written in a very lucid style and also reflects her philosophy that dance and dance writing should be accessible to all. I will ask Taradi to please read a few sections from the book, and as we go along, we'll take you through this book.
It's a great honor for me, having known Maya Didi personally, to be able to read out of her book in her words. I'm going to read the chapter which is called At the Gates of Kathak. The Guru enters my life. I vividly recall my first meeting with Shambhu Maharajji. On his arrival from Lucknow, an irate Maharajji walked into the Sangeet Natak Academy office and roared, "Who is this girl for whom I've had to leave my Lucknow and come to this refugee city to teach?" Instantly, I did a namaskar, touched his feet, saying, "Guruji, I too have left my home and traveled thousands of miles to learn from you." This softened him, and he said, "Your bowing down is not to me, but to my forefathers and gurus, whose knowledge I'm going to pass on to you." He sounded pleased with my gesture. For the first 10 months, the Bharatiya Kala Kendra did not possess their private space. In the interim, my classes were sometimes at Nirmalaji's office in the academy or Sumitraji's house on Curzon Road. Nirmalaji appointed Govind Vidyarthi to oversee our classes. Since it was Sumitraji's home, we had to move our classes from one room to another each day, depending on the family's whims. This would provoke a moody Shambhu Maharajji, who would suddenly throw a tantrum, saying he did not want to teach in a dark room or move to the veranda of the house. Govindji, with his calm demeanor, would always be around to pacify him. For this reason, Govindji was labeled as a shock absorber. Govindji became one of my dearest friends. Learning under Guru Shambhu Maharajji was an experience of a lifetime. During those years, the rivalry between the Lucknow and Jaipur gharanas was rampant. When he came to know that I was from South India and trained under the Jaipur style, Shambhu Maharajji said something very strange. "I'm a sculptor of ivory. If you have learnt from the Jaipur walas, you must be like loha, iron. He asked me what it was that I wanted to learn the most. I promptly replied, Abhinay. Abhinay will not get you a ready applause. Taliyan nahi milengi. Which the tukdas and fast sequences do, he said. I stood firm with my decision and said, I do not mind not getting the applause, but I'm keen to learn Abhinay, which is the essence of Kathak. Maharaj Ji was very pleased, and thus started my first lesson. Encountering a new slanguage. One day, he was teaching me a ghungat ki gat, a sequence that portrays the lifting of the veil from the face. Confused, I asked him how within the 4 matras of ta, thai, thai, could we lift the veil and cover the face using different mudras of the hand as the changes were so fast. In his inimitable style, he remarked, बदतमीज दक्षिण की औरतें जो घूंघट नहीं काटते उसकी नजाकत कैसे वो समझे? Shameless South Indian women who do not veil their faces, how would they know the subtle nuances of lifting it? I was fairly new to Hindustani, though I had studied Hindi in college in Bangalore. I was especially unfamiliar with the Lucknowi style in which Maharaji spoke, and that too punctuated with the local slang. I thought Battamiz was a swear word, and I was very upset. Indignantly, I retorted, when we travel from Bangalore to Delhi in the train after Nagpur, the women cover their faces, but they leave the rest of their body open. It was not right for me to retort, but I was angry, since he generally made a wholesale statement about the South Indian women being battamiz. Have you seen my wife? He asked softly. I told him I had not. Then why do you make these statements? He asked in irritation. I had a ready retort at the tip of my tongue, but I stopped in time. I rushed to Nirmala ji, fuming, and told her, इनसे मुझे नहीं सीखना है, क्योंकि गाली देते हैं. She asked me what he had said, and I repeated the whole episode. Oh Maya, Battamiz is the most decent term in Maharaj Ji's vocabulary, and you should not mind it, she exclaimed, laughing heartily, throwing her head back in her signature style. She also informed me that Maharaj Ji was not familiar with the training in a formal atmosphere, as he was used to teaching girls from the chalk. Maharaj Ji was advised to be polite while talking to girls like me. I always say that I not only learnt Kathak from Maharaj Ji, but good Hindustani too.
Thank you, Taradi. We have a small clip from her film that we did on her lectures called Maya to Matter on this nuance of bhav in Kathak, which we rarely get to see on stage nowadays. So could we have that on, please?
Thumris, the musical quality, the melody also is utilized. For instance, if you're singing Thumrile, Mere Suno Sham, Mere Suno Sham, Mere Suno Sham, Mere Suno Sham. Then when you say Suno Sham, when you elongate, you use your hands to show the clouds. And you just have to open the mirror and see the sham color. When you're seeing the clouds, they are big. Sham, you see, you have to use your body language with the music. So variations are shown through the musical quality also.
So, just learning dance and absorbing influences, of course, was something that she did all her life, including now at 86. If she watched a performance or read a book, she never ceased to get inspired. But I think
one of the things I wanted to ask you, Madhu, is she was the first person who actually created a repertoire for Kathak performances.
Yes.
Could you tell us something about it?
Yeah, sure. So, Ma was the first Government of India scholarship holder in independent India to study Kathak from Shambhu Maharaj. You already heard about the first encounter. So, when she went there, the gurus had Kathak was about upaj or improvisation. So one would go on stage and say, "Aaj main jhaptal nachunga," or "Aaj main ye karungi," etc. And she, having come from the south, where we're used to a system, and Bharatanatyam already had the margam, that was again a 20th century phenomena. She also said, why don't we have some sort of representation of the chronology of the periods through which these pieces pass. So if we start with the Vandana from the temple, then we go to the Tukras, we come to the Abhinay pieces and to the Tarana in the Mughal courts and to a newer piece. So that she did, and she was very particular about this whole concept of continuity that of course, we all know that dance is so ephemeral, and now we have video recordings, etc. But at that point, much like Bharat Muni, this need to pass on this legacy through the written word, through dance performances itself, was something very close to her heart.
So I think leading from there, I'm going to read this chapter called Systematizing the Talim, in which Maya Didi talks about how she came around creating this repertoire. I had the habit of taking notes about anything I had studied in the class. Noticing this, Maharajji once asked me what I was writing. I told him of the rumors circulating about how ustads taught their students one tukra and their own children another variation. Keeping notes would help me revise and cross-check to see if what I was taught was indeed the right thing. He heard me patiently and added, "Dimag se yaad karo, dil mein utaro, phir kabhi nahi bhuloge." Remember with your mind, absorb it in your heart, and you will never forget. These words had a profound impact on me and made their way into my teaching methodology forever. I often made movement sketches, which I called mosquito sketches, to remember the positions of movements of the hands and legs. I would often even take Maharajji's signature below these sketches, just in case people would blame me later for adding my own inferences to his teaching. Maharajji's teaching style was spontaneous and never systematic. One day he would teach an Amad, another day it would be a Paran or a Tukra. I put all the Amads together and the Paran separately, explaining to him that in science there are classifications in the form of a category or a family. It is important to incorporate this system in Kathak to create a proper methodology for teaching. He liked the term family. Later, when students went to Maharajji to clear doubts, he would adoringly say, "Maya se poocho, family ke bare mein, sab pata hai." He appreciated the idea that I was systematizing Kathak training. With his blessings, I created a Kathak repertoire from Vandana to the Tarana, which became a norm for other dancers to follow. In a Kathak solo presentation, the norm was to open with a Ganesh Vandana before the performer appeared on stage. The dancer would then take his position as the lehra started. Nirmala ji told me, since I was from the south, I must know that it is customary to open with a Vandana in dance. She gave me the Saraswati Vandana and the Shiva Vandana, Angikam. Though I knew the custom, I was not sure of the way to portray it in Kathak. She encouraged me to try and perform, and Maharaj Ji also appreciated. Though performed for the first time, it has now become a part of the traditional Kathak repertoire. Maharaj Ji was so open-hearted. He brought his son Krishna Mohan to me to teach him the Saraswati Vandana. So, when Maya Didi went abroad and had all these Western influences in her very traditional training of Kathak, how did she actually weave this Western influence into her repertoire and to her choreography? Would you reflect upon that?
Sure. Must add that Mayaji's journey was a very lonely one, as is probably the journeys of all pioneers. So whether it was to leave this idyllic city of Bangalore in the early 50s to go teach in Jaipur and then in Sri Lanka and then to come to Delhi where she lived for 37 years and come back, she's always pioneered a new movement. And when she went, she was again the only Indian to have gone and got a postgraduate degree in the Soviet Union. This was in the early 60s, where another unique feature of hers was to find similarities, not look for differences. So if she found George Nover's principles, she said, oh, these are the same aspects you find in the Natya Shastra, for example, that of course, the universal quality of pedagogy or creation, these were important to her. So when she came back to India, she, despite all her detractors, not coming from an industrialist background as most czarinas of culture in Delhi those days were, she started her own little modest center in Shankar Market in Connaught Place. And there she started the Natya Institute of Choreography, with under the patronage of the Natya Sangh UNESCO, with Kamala Devi Chattopadhyay. And the course was unique again, because if there was Natya Shastra, there would be Kurt Sachs with World History of Movement. If there was Indian aesthetics, there would be world history. There would be mime and movement. And then again, from Delhi, when she moved to Bangalore, she started, till now, India's only degree course for choreography. So young dancers, just to please their parents, don't have to do a BCom or engineering course to then become dancers by night, but they can actually qualify in this. So that is... And she always... like I said to you, look for similarities. So we will see a little clip about that, where she looks at the relevance of the Natya Shastra in today's times.
Years ago, when I was in Moscow at the Gitis, the Theatre Institute, I stood and watched the timetable put up for the various subjects. The choreography one, naturally, took all my attention. I found there were so many subjects we had to study besides dance, music, drama, mime and movement, costume design, stage design, lighting, and what have you. It seemed to ring a bell in my mind. And a page from Natya Shastra seemed to flutter in front of me, where Bharata has said almost the same thing. An expert in Natya should have the knowledge of music, drama, costume, and color, besides dance, for the success of his presentation. It's amazing how George Nover and other masters of choreography in the West seem to have the same ideas as Bharata had. choreography does not exist alone. It needs a balanced blending of music, drama, stage design, and costume. You will see now the essentials of choreography as seen in the times of Natya Shastra and its relevance in today's times. When one talks of Natya Shastra with its 36 chapters, what comes to the mind of the dancers? Hastas, mudras, rasa, bhava, and the angas, pratyangas, etc., etc. But I today especially want to talk about space, how Bharata has made us conscious of space on the stage. From the West we learn about the divisions of stage, etc. But I want to talk about space, which is given in the chapters on Purvaranga in the 3rd, 4th and 5th chapters of the Natya Shastra. Now you will say, why Maya Didi these grandmother stories? But in this grandmother story, as you may call, we have some relevance and something rational. If you take all our Indian theory of theatre is garbed in mythology. Bharata said, draw 2 lines. This is the mandala he has mentioned in chapter 3. 2 horizontal lines parallel to each other and 2 vertical lines. 9 divisions. And this, he said, this is to install the gods for the puja. I am not one who says we have everything in the Natya Shastra, but this is a standing example to show we were made conscious of the stage. Now we have a rehearsal, don't we? Then we know whether we should move downstage, upstage, or what. You know? So Bharata just said this is the Vishnu Sthana, that is Shiva's Sthana, or this is somebody's, and you move there. And the center was called the Brahma Mandala, because Brahma was the one who created. So he was given, which today we call center or CC in abbreviated terms. So the Sutradhar, who is also the director of the play, comes and sprinkles water on the stage. That's the first round. Then he comes with the Jarjara with 2 assistants. And then one is carrying a pitcher with water, the other is carrying flowers, and the other one is carrying the Jarjara.
We were very fortunate to have many such interactions in class and thought, why not share that? And that's how Maya to Matter happened on various subjects. And the book too was really like a swan song, because we released it in July, and 1st September she left us, her physical presence that is. And I wanted to just say that Vikram had with the BLF team wanted to have her book featured here, because this is the first time that a book on a dancer would be featured at the Bangalore Literature Festival. But when she passed away, he said, we will still do it. And as it is not a very articulate speaker, I'd rather dance. So I must tell you, I'm really nervous and also quite emotional today, but very, very happy that we can share her work at this forum. She was sort of ageless, you know, like her body couldn't keep up with her spirit, and she never liked to be called a grandmother, so none of our nieces, etc., could ever call her Ajji or Nani or anything. She was always Mayaka, or, you know. She starts her acknowledgements in the book with, again, a quote from Shambhu Maharaji, her guru, which says, "Sale budhape se nahi bach sakte." and we didn't know how relevant that would be. And Maharaji apparently was documented really late in his life by the Sangeet Natak Academy. But with Ma and in this book, my father and her dear friends like Govind Vidyarthi and the GK Vale Studios, Van Dyke Studios, always from the time she was 16, and again, the first woman to go and dance in town hall in early 1940s, has been documented, her photographs. And so we realized while making the book, when we come to the 80s and 90s, the automatic camera comes in. And that's when you see this sort of deterioration in the quality of images. So we decided to keep the whole book as a black and white. And another interesting aspect is at the end we had Shamant Patil do a photo essay on her. Again, very particular about how she looked before. She said, "Aaj main kaun si sari pehnu?" Never mind, there was a black and white image. But she was very particular about these things. Having said that, one of her biggest influences for her choreography has always been literature. When she was really young, from doing Pygmalion as a story called Art and Life. Later on, working with all the greats like Anna Kru, Adya Rangachar, and later in her life also doing a choreography with Kuvempu, Ramayana Darshanam. Her favorite, of course, always was Rabindranath Tagore and Shakespeare. And somehow her life has always been linked to writers. So she used to say, "I'm a BC person," because she'll be talking and say, 1946, and she'll look at someone and say, "You weren't even born then, right?" So from that time onwards, she's always taken her inspiration more from poets and writers and their take on a situation rather than working with the mystical and the philosophical aspects of the Indian literature. She wanted the writer's point of view, so she worked very closely. Even Anantmurti ji, or she worked with Indira, I'm sorry, forgetting her name, the Dust of Bridge, the Assamese Indira Goswami. She worked with Masti Venkatesh Iyengar, many other greats. And she used to also say, "I'm a centenary choreographer." So whether it was Basavarna's centenary or Siddharamaya's, or, she was always Surdas, she was always called to choreograph. So one such poet that has influenced her tremendously has been Amir Khusro, and that again has a link to her Russia days. Over to Taradi.
So I'm going to read this chapter, which is called Maya, Maichka, Maya Didi. In 1960, my friend and colleague, Keshav Kothari, drew my attention to an announcement in the newspapers. A new scholarship was being instituted in order to build international cultural ties between India and the Soviet Union. I applied for it as I felt I had all the qualifications they had asked. There were around 150 applicants, but just two of us, N.K. Shivashankaran Nair, who was from Uday Shankar's troupe, and I were selected. As soon as I received the scholarship, I took leave without pay from the Bharatiya Kala Kendra for 3 years and left for Moscow. In those days, Moscow was the most sought-after place for ballet. The dancers from Russia were rated the best. We landed in Russia, reeling under a winter of minus 29 degrees Celsius. We joined the Lunacharsky State Institute for Theatre Arts, which had courses that included training in choreography, theatre, criticism, stage design, opera, and ballet. The first 6 months were devoted to learning Russian because they did not teach us in English. Every day we had 2 hours of Russian and the 2 hours of ballet training. There was great confusion when we started our training because the interpreter told the institute's authorities that we were classical dancers and therefore ballet dancers. This mistake occurred because in India we refer to Kathak and Bharatnatyam as classical dance, whereas in the West, Especially in Russia, classical dance is synonymous with the ballet technique. They sent us a teacher from the Bolshoi theater who was to fine-tune ballet dancers for the solos and the duets in famous ballets such as Giselle, Swan Lake, and others. The ballet teacher was also confused, as both Shankar and I were over 25 years old and in no shape to start ballet training. The ballet students start their training when they're around 8 years and take nearly 10 to 15 years to appear on stage. Amid such confusion, we started taking ballet classes. The teacher would say, "Shift your corpus to the left and right." Corpus is a term for the body in French, the language of ballet technique. Our interpreter would tell us to shift our corpse from the right to the left and vice versa. Maybe the interpreter would prove to be right one day because we found it brutally cold and difficult to perform the movements. Very disillusioned, Shankar and I went to the Indian embassy to inform Mr. Jain, the first secretary, that we were going home, regardless of the deposit we had paid. They had a long meeting, and Mr. Jain, who was well versed in Russian, understood our problems and managed to convey our concerns to the institute. Thereafter, we were made to learn the basics of ballet first, followed by the basics of choreography. Otherwise, we would have come back limping, trying to imitate the swans in Swan Lake. Before going to Moscow, I had met Sergei Balasanyan, the celebrated Soviet composer who was also a Nehru awardee on a research tour in India for the ballet Shakuntala. KPS Menon, who was the Indian ambassador to the USSR, had suggested that he compose Kalidasa's Shakuntala, as it was not only an Indian classic, but a reputed world classic as well. Balasanyan, after seeing my dance in Delhi, requested me to work as a choreographic consultant while in Russia. During my training period, the theatre of Riga, the capital of Latvia, invited me as a consultant at the behest of Balasanyan. The theatre had a resident choreographer with whom I compared notes and saw which of our Indian motifs would blend well with the ballet vocabulary in the interpretation of the theme. The ballet artists danced with their shoes, while we performed barefooted. The only compromise they would make for Shakuntala was painting their shoes brown to blend with Indian skin tones. Without ballet shoes, they would be mistaken for folk dancers. I was there for 6 months to choreograph and guide them. Our mudras intrigued them because we utilize even our fingers to create images, while in the ballet technique, very few hand movements are used. In the Natya Shastra, we have the charis, or the movements of the legs, and it was surprising to find a few similarities with the Western ballet technique. It was a very interesting production. They altered the story and its moral orientation a bit to suit their communist ideology, while keeping the essence of the classic. A funny incident comes to my mind here. When Balasanyan heard a snake charmer outside his hotel in Kolkata playing the tune Tan Dole Mera Man Dole from the movie Nagin, he liked the tune immensely. An ignorant ICCR official who was his local guide told him it was a very traditional Madhya Pradesh melody. Balasanyan recorded the snake charmer's tune and composed a symphony on that. When I listened to it in Riga, I told him it was a popular film tune by a music director, Hemant Mukherjee. Balasanyan had converted it into a symphony with many violins and all other instruments for the scene when King Dushyant goes hunting in Ujjain, Madhya Pradesh. I told him to change it, else I would be in trouble, if not him, as I was the only Indian consultant there. Yeah, yeah. Last, yeah. When I was in Moscow doing a postgraduate course in choreography, our final project was to choose a theme, create a production, and present it on stage for a panel of examiners. I noticed the word Mir written on hoardings, buildings, indeed everywhere. Mir is peace in Russian. I had heard about Amir Khusro, the famous Indian Sufi poet who was a promoter of peace, and also that his ancestors hailed from Tajikistan, which then was part of the Soviet Union. Here was my Indo-Soviet connection and poetry that inspired me immensely. I decided Khusro would be my project. While reading his biography, I came to understand that in the midst of wars, he thought of love and peace. There was a very beautiful library of Oriental manuscripts and paintings in Moscow where there was more information about him. My friend, Govind Vidyarthi, was a scholar of Persian and Urdu apart from 11 other languages. He too loved my idea of rendering Khusro's work as a dance drama and sent me beautiful ghazals for the script. I approached Sergei Balasanyan, the composer of Shakuntala. When I told him about my assignment, he gave me Tajik music for a dance sequence. My original libretto itself was like a manuscript written completely in Russian.
Thank you, Taradi. We're running short of time, so we will stop here. And of course, you can read the book. I can just picture my mother. If you spoke too much about her, she would say, "Acha, bas karo, ab thoda dance dekhte hain." So that's what we're going to do. We have a very quick 4-minute piece, which is a choreography of mine that she really loved, it's from a piece called Vajra. And recently we started calling the piece Maya. And music is by Praveen D. Rao. After which, if we have time, then we have a Q&A with all of you. Thank you so much. And I'd like to especially thank Taradi for stepping in, because we've had Taradi on our first 2 launches, but today it was going to be Vimala Rangachar, and I would be just sitting and listening. And Vimala auntie, who herself is 85 and a friend of my mother since she was 6 years old, has lost a cousin, and she couldn't be here. And Taradi, at the last moment, stepped in, and as always, it's such a joy to listen to her. Thank you so much, Taradi. Vajra. This one's working. So that was Maya, his piece, and I'll quickly introduce you to the dancers. And you have only 3 questions from the audience, please. That's our artistic director, Janardhan Rajars, our coordinator, Kirti Kumar, our young dancers, Divya Bhatt, Tejesh Kumar, Meghna Rao, Nikhil Parmar, and Reshmi Nair. And all our young dancers helping at the light, sound console, and photography, and other things. So thank you. Any questions?
Hello? Hello? I have no questions as such because I'm simply mesmerized by the performance, really. I've been learning Kathak for last 1 year from the Lucknow Gharana, and I'm really, really happy to be a part of Bangalore Literature Festival over here and to see such amazing dancers. It really inspires me that I have chosen Kathak as a form to learn after all these years because I've been grown up in a family where Kathak was not the desired form. They wanted me to learn Bharatnatyam and I never wanted that. So finally I have doing that and I'm happy. Thank you so much.
Thank you for sharing that. Thank you.
Maya Chakravarti. I wanted to ask you, Madhu, how are you going to fill the amazingly large and wonderful shoes left behind by your mother?
The last thing my mother said after her latest choreography at 86, she choreographed Kathak Through the Ages, a 1.5-hour piece, which this grand woman walks up on stage and had Chaudhaya giving her a standing ovation, and she says that her guru said, now I can pass away peacefully because Maya will carry my work through. And she said, I can say that with Madhu and all my students, I can go now. They will take my legacy forward. And really, it's just, thank you. It's just not me. I was probably her 400th student. And till date, I can vouch and say this, that she never recommended me for a show or applied on my behalf, ever. And we're all the same. She's done that for other students sometimes, but not for me. So her legacy is also to share, right? So with our team of dancers, we will not really fill her shoes. We'll keep that separately. But we will take on her work as best as we can further into newer horizons and newer dimensions.
Hi, Madhu. Me here. Hi. It's a wonderful performance, and it's nice to see that you brought your mother's legacy, and I believe she belongs to everybody, not only to you, and that's the understanding. Now, coming to what I want to understand is, did she learn initially Bharatanatyam and then moved on to Kathak? If so, then what did she leave back for Bharatanatyam is what I would like to know.
Well, she was born in
Thank you.
She was born in a Konkani Saraswat home, and most of us usually grew up studying Hindustani music. And also script is usually the Marathi or Devanagari itself or Kannada. So she always knew she wanted to learn Kathak. And at that time, there was only Sohan Lalji here, who also went into the films. So her younger sisters were allowed to dance, but she was not. She was already a teenager. So she would carry a mandolin case, a Dilruba case to college, telling her parents she's going to be in the music orchestra and she's to dance there. She left Bangalore in the early 50s after finishing her BA honors in English literature and went looking for Kathak in Jaipur. But post-independence, all the gurus had gone into the film industry or to other places. And then she went and studied Kandyan dance in Sri Lanka, and then got the first call to come and get an interview to study with Shambhu Maharajji as the first Government of India scholarship holder in independent India. But there were about 200 people who applied, and she got it, despite knowing very little Kathak. So she never learned Bharatanatyam. Never. I think one person just shared, so we can allow one more question. That wasn't really a question. Here, over here.
Hello, everyone. We were a little late to the performance, but I'm very happy that we made it just in time. I have learned Kathak Chandigarh Gharana for about 6 to 7 years, but I had never, performed with in a thematic way. So Maya, as we are calling it now, how do you, ma'am, you and your troupe want to create or wish to create a Maya, maybe to for the welfare of the human being or to uplift the societal banes that we are having? I feel that any art form is a very nice way to convey our feelings to the audience and to help it grow even more.
I'll answer that. We'll also ask Tara Didi to take that forward. I think every dancer, dance company is a part of society. We must not forget that. And our aim is also to inhabit more spaces in the public domain. Some of our work is issue-based, because most of it is, in the artistic realm. So subtly, through Amir Khusro, you speak of communal harmony. We have done a piece called Mo with the women's legal rights groups that again talks about pleasure versus violence. We have done a lot of pieces of social relevance. But dance itself offers limitless possibilities in the realms of healing or creativity, and it's a very powerful, potent tool of change and transformation. I think we should leave it in that larger spectrum. But Tara Di herself works in that realm, so
I just thought you might want to talk about Asim Yatra that you have started.
So Asim Kala Yatra is again a project initiated by our institute, where we take dance to satellite cities and rural areas. So the performing unit travels. It's a module that was created by my mother and me to offer dance as a serious career option. And especially in these places where children, dance is sometimes taboo. So they're taken through, a workshop. They come and watch the performing unit in the evening. We talk to the parents, etc. So that's one of the outreach programs we do. We have lots of outreach programs. Am I forgetting? Yes, so we work with various communities through dance, and including getting dance included as part of the curriculum in schools, not as an extracurricular activity. I think with that, we can
I
end.
really appreciate, I completely relate to it, that it liberates us. I feel dancing as, since I have learned, I think it liberates us. And I guess everybody over here is going to applaud you after hearing all those about the Asim Yatra and how you're bringing the dance forms to places where its reaches might be seldom. I really appreciate and very happy to be a part of this program now.
Thank you so much. We were all available outside. I think the next session is getting delayed. We'd like to thank the Bangalore Literature Festival team for having invited us here and reliving and sharing moments with Maya. Thank you, Vikram, for insisting we still do it after. Thank you. Namaskar.
The markers are here. After
We have copies. Some people, you can.
You'll announce it about the book?
Books are available. Check.
The books are available in the book exhibition in the signing area. Please proceed over there. And I make all the rest of the announcements. Yeah. Okay. Where's ma'am?